Number 5. darkFlash Micro ATX DLM21. This compact case supports only up to mATX motherboards. Even though it's pegged as luxury by the brand, it falls squarely into the budget category. Its claim to fame is the hinge door panel with tempered glass. Other features include toolless design, good fan support, and sleek, minimal looks. It looks premium, to be honest. As the front panel cannot be removed, you'll only be removing the two side panels, both of which are quite easy to get off. The glass door will slide out of its hinge. The metal side panel is held in place by two plastic thumb screws. It's a 3-second job to reach the inside of the case. Around the centre is the obvious mount for the motherboard. Only mATX and mITX Mobos are supported. To the right of this mount is the space to mount two 2.5-inch SSDs. You'll need a screwdriver for doing this. Once you install your motherboard, you'll want to move on to extensions and GPU. The extension slots are, well, cheap. If you pop the covers out, you cannot get them back in, not without some hot glue. Plan ahead before popping any slot. In terms of fans, the darkFlash Micro ATX has space for up to 5. You can install two 120mm units on the front or a 240mm AIO. Frankly, we'd recommend against a water cooler in the front. If you have a massive GPU, it'll be a very tight fit. You'll want to lightly fit a 120mm fan at the rear too. Door opening side panel with magnetic design is easy to disassemble and it's tool free. The black side glass shows the light effect in a low profile way. Meanwhile, the overall tempered glass design makes the inner view of the chassis broad. It could install 120mm by 2 or 140mm by 2 air coolers and a 240mm water cooler, making more options for users. The USB 3.0 is particularly handy for people looking for high-speed transmission efficiency. A combination of a fan and an air cooler should enhance this case's cooling capabilities and leave adequate space for cable management. It really is the best-looking Micro ATX case in the market, without a doubt. Number 4. Cooler Master Micro ATX Q300L. Cooler Master are certainly no strangers to the world of computer case engineering. Their portfolio stretches all the way back to the 90s, with some of the most prolific designs coming from the HAF and Cosmos series. Not wanting to fall by the wayside, Cooler Master have brought to the market their MasterBox series, and there's been no shortage of models to fall under this collection. Like the rest of the Q series, the Q300L utilises a compact design which still seeks to deliver on functionality. Inside this mini tower there's space for high-end kit, and we can even use it in a vertical or horizontal orientation. Removing the Q300L from its packaging, we're met by a pleasant-looking computer case which adopts a stylish visual appearance. On the prominent side, the entire panel is transparent, but unlike many modern enclosures nowadays, the Q300L does not utilise tempered glass. The panel being used here is of plastic construction, but still delivers the desired outcome. Users are able to see a complete view of the installed system within. 4 oversized screws secure this panel onto a chassis, and there's front panel connectivity towards the front edge. Taking a look at the front of the Q300L, we have a distinct design which not only looks attractive but also has the option to be reversed. The pattern seen above is printed on a magnetic dust filter which simply pulls away from the chassis. One thing we would have liked to have seen different in this department is the inclusion of a raised edge or lip to help prevent this sheet from moving around, because it takes very little force to move it out of place. Underneath this filter we can install two 120 or 140mm fans. The installation process with Q300L is one which requires little effort thanks to the helpful design implementations that Cooler Master has employed. There's been strong emphasis on the mini ITX and full ATX computer cases in the last few years, and you could argue that Micro ATX has been somewhat neglected. It's nice to see Cooler Master designing for this form factor, and in the Q300L we have a very intriguing solution. Number 3. Thermaltake Versa H17. This budget-oriented Micro ATX mini tower chassis has been available in other territories for a bit, but it's just now made its way to the USA. The Versa H17 isn't much to look at, but some gerbils have expressed fondness for that trait. Open the side panel and you're greeted with a quickly becoming standard dual-chamber design. A shrouded bottom area conceals the power supply and a couple of 3.5-inch storage devices from view, and also provides handy space for excess cables. On the back of the motherboard tray you can mount a pair of 2.5-inch drives. Installed CPU coolers can be up to 6.1 inches or 15.5 centimeters in height. Graphics cards can be up to 13.8 inches or 35 centimeters in length, and power supplies can be up to 8.7 inches or 22 centimeters deep. The front side panel features a large acrylic window set inside a steel side panel. This is the first sign that we're looking at a budget case, as it's unusual not to see tempered glass in a newly released case. To the front, we have a pretty featureless panel that has a brushed aluminium effect, but it's actually plastic. With an unceremonious tug, the front panel is removed. Sort of. The front I/O cables are attached to the panel, and therefore it cannot be fully removed. It has to be said that the Versa H17 was a joy to build in. The simplicity in its design means that there's a lot of clearance when building inside the case. There's also a really generous amount of clearance between the motherboard tray and the rear side panel, which makes cable management really straightforward. The quality of the materials is also really good, especially given that this is a budget-orientated case. For anyone after a good quality case for an mATX motherboard, that gives a satisfying build experience, but also doesn't break the bank, then I would certainly recommend this one. Number 2. Phanteks Enthoo Evolv. Phanteks leans pretty hard on the Enthoo name for case branding, and the Evolv name invokes a style that the company has spread across the spectrum from mini ITX to full ATX. Phanteks even lists eATX capability for its Evolv ATX, though actual motherboard depth is limited to 10.4 inches. The case would need another 0.3 inches to make it fit the plethora of 10.6 to 10.7 inch extreme enthusiast motherboards that have been misnamed eATX by their manufacturers, but rest assured your standard ATX board fits. And now for something to get excited about. Tempered glass adds a little show without making the case look gaudy, which is why it was used so often in furniture 30 years ago. It's harder than normal glass, more impact resistant, and those unfortunate enough to break it will find a bunch of glass pebbles rather than shards and splinters. One of the greatest features of the Enthoo Evolv ATX tempered glass isn't actually a feature, but the price. Conversely, the biggest deficit in the Enthoo Evolv ATX is its inclusion of only 7 expansion slots. Several 3-way and all 4-way SLI boards need an 8th slot for the bottom graphics card, and many need 0.2 to 0.3 inches more motherboard mounting space than the 10.4 inches provided. Peeling away the Enthoo Evolv ATX face panel, we find a snap-in filter that's large enough to cover 2 140mm or 3 120mm fans. Behind it is a partial shroud covering the show side of a power supply, and the front of that shroud hosts 4 mounting points for an optional additional SSD tray. A portion of the motherboard tray is angled towards the motherboard's forward edge to make cable management easier through elongated access holes. That same raised portion is responsible for the 10.4 inch motherboard limit within a case that has space for cards up to 16.5 inches. Forward of that portion, 5 square plugs fill access holes for add-in SATA drive shells. It really is a very nice Micro ATX case that you should check out. Number 1. Fractal Design Meshify Mini C. One of the best Micro ATX cases in the market is the Fractal Meshify C. This one has a very nice looking design and has plenty of ports that might help you a lot. When it comes to design, this one is available in black colour edition with a fractal design that looks and performs pretty well. The Meshify C is made primarily of solid steel components, has a few bits of ABS plastic, and the left side of the chassis is covered in tempered tinted glass. It's a very well built case that can last you for years without a problem. The only bit of coloured LED to see is the backlit power button, which glows blue. Everything else is black, which in my opinion is very cool. Furthermore, you should know that the front I/O panel is part of the front bezel, and it includes the reset button, HD audio jacks, the power button, and a pair of USB 3.0 ports. The left side of the chassis uses tempered tinted glass to cover the interior, while still offering some view of the interior. On the other hand, the right side of the device has little to see, just an expanse of steel where the tempered glass was on the other side. Performance-wise, this nice case is an ITX, Mini ATX and ATX form factor compatible case that features a highly optimised open-air interior design, offering room for the most popular component setups. Something else you should know is that the Meshify C has a compact footprint with a high-end component support of a larger tower, and with 7 fan mounts and multi-radiator liquid cooling capability, it has the cooling capacity to match. Overall, it's a very cool looking PC case that has a nice design, and it delivers a great performance. To conclude, I would say that if you're looking for a low-cost primary level case that has plenty of great features, the Fractal Meshify C is the one for you. Buying guide. Firstly, GPU clearance. GPU clearance denotes space required by a graphics processing unit to fit in the case. In a nutshell, there must be enough room inside your Micro ATX case to host a chosen GPU. What you should be aware of is that if a GPU clearance is 12 inches and more, then it will be able to support almost any video card. Here, the point is that some high-end computer chassis, including Micro ATX cases, require a special kind of optical drive. This may be either a slim optical drive or a slot load optical drive. The second type is more relevant for you as it's used in PC cases, while the first one is typical for laptops with SFF form factor. Secondly, ports. One of the main things about PC case ports is that your motherboard headers must match the ports of your new computer case. In case they don't, you'll need to get adapters or expansion cards. Some other details which should be considered before a purchase include an I/O shield, drive sleds and stealthing, expansion slots, cable management and PSU. There's no doubt that if you want to find the best Micro ATX case, you should be aware of those pre-cited characteristics before you start searching for a computer chassis. And lastly, drive bays and cooler cutaways. These are special areas in a case where you can install some additional computer hardware, temperature readouts, fan controllers, platter-style hard drives. Note that they don't need any tools for installation. The size of drive bays can vary from 2.5 to 5.25 inches. Cooling plays a crucial part in the effective performance of any PC, so if you're going to equip your Micro ATX case with the best CPU cooler, then check whether it has a backing plate or other mounting hardware, usually installed from the board underneath.